Hello, everybody. We are streaming live in Twitch chat to make a tier list. Okay, then for the record, this is an all-time tier list for units in AirMech Strike, previously just AirMech. I am joined here by my buddy FriskyCow, as you can see by the little icon on the stream. We have a bunch of random stupid people in chat that are going to judge us, and we're going to make an all-time tier list. How are you doing this fine new year, FriskyCow?
Fine. We'll see.
Fine. Yeah, well, okay. That was kind of ominous, but I'm
cautiously optimistic. 2020 was kind of shit. 2021, time will tell.
Well, I'm a little confused why everyone thinks changing a number on the calendar is going to sway the fortunes of the world in a different direction. But
partially because it's an election year.
Well, but that's a completely different. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if that does anything, if at all, or But we are here to make an all-time tier list, and for the record, since we're starting this stream, starting this video, this is an all-time tier list for all of these units with a basically a recency bias. So more weight is going to be put towards the recent power levels or usefulness of these units in the recent years of the game. So yeah. Oh, I just realized
it's still entirely subjective, but if something used to be good, you're still going to rank it high, even if it's crap now.
We're going to rank it higher than we would if it was just the status now. And this is like a gajillion % subjective, if so. That's the concept, but how we decide to implement it is whatever.
Are you trying to suggest that you have no metrics by which to judge all these things? That you're just gonna feel it?
It will all be by the feels. Yes, correct.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, the feels.
That makes perfect sense.
I'm gonna adjust my stream just a smidge here. Shoot. Let's do that.
I'm told you need to work on your French.
My French, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Don't really care. Paralikit. Don't care, Paralikit. Yeah, very, very little. You remember how the two languages that were taught in schools and stuff were French and English? Remember that?
No.
No? That was a thing before.
No, we had Spanish and Japanese.
Spanish and Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
That was available in your schools?
That was the only two language choices I had.
That's pretty random. Anyway, let's get started. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it by unit category, and I'm gonna save tanks and heavies for last. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
All right. If anyone wants to follow along, I'm gonna put the Tiermaker link in Twitch chat and probably drop it in one of the AirMech chats somewhere. That is the Tiermaker link. You guys can link your tier lists at the end if you want to keep going. If you want to share, I don't know if I have links enabled, but if you PM me on Discord, I'll share it. Yeah.
Cute.
AirMech units Tiermaker. I don't know. I put Tiermaker twice, but whatever. Anyway, so let's get going. Let's start with the most ridiculous category with the most units in it for some reason. Infantry.
Okay.
Do you remember when there were like 3 infantries? It was like soldier, runner, and I could have sworn there was one more. And then they introduced probe at one point. Oh, they had SAMs.
Maybe I'm smoking crack, but I feel like there was soldier and creeps, and that was
creeps,
it.
Okay, well, I actually do have creeps here, which is hilarious. But yeah, it was soldier, runner, and SAM, and those were the 3. And Mystic Llama is correct. So let's do the easy one first. Level 1 creep, and I'm gonna put that at D tier, not F tier. And then
really?
And then let's go successive.
But it can capture outposts.
That is true. So wait, hold on. Are you saying that it is impossible to rank infantry, regardless of how crappy they are, lower than a certain point, like C tier, just for the simple fact that they can capture outposts.
No matter what infantry it is, it will always be better than, say, balloons.
No, but at one point, balloons were really powerful.
Or Dinger.
Well, Dinger is going to be definitely F tier, but that's not the point.
Or Vault Box, whatever. Yeah,
well,
any infantry is going to be better.
I think right now we just need to slap these on and then rearrange it after, a certain point.
Fine.
Okay. So, but just to finalize this initial point, this initial concept, do you think there is a tier that is the lowest possible boundary for infantry simply because they capture outposts?
I would say probably C.
Probably C. All right. So I'm good with doing this, putting level 1 creeps in C tier, level 2 creeps in B tier, and then A and then S for level 3 and level 4. And if you've noticed, I did put 3 levels of S tier. There is S, double S, and triple S. And
what's the difference? What's the delineation there?
There's no. Listen, Frisky. There's to imply that there is some kind of guideline here. Would be.
Well, we could make one up on the fly. We could say that triple S is required. That if you don't have that in your loadout, then you're just straight up bad.
Sure. All right. That's good.
And then double S is really good. Most people consider it broken, but someone like Happy Death could probably win without it.
Sure. There you go. All right. And what's single S then? Something that's really good, and you can choose to put it in your loadout or not, because it at that point it's actually a stylistic choice, and you can make it useful and you can't, or you can't.
I think single S would be things like hard counters, like Gaddy or Aegis, maybe,
okay,
if they aren't necessarily broken.
All right, I'm good with that. And then A and down, I feel like that's self-explanatory after that.
There's almost too many tiers, but we'll try.
There's almost too many. See, when I looked at the tiers and I saw S, A, B, C, and D, I had to add the other S's and the F tier for AirMech, because AirMech there are 84 units in this thing. There are 84 units in this ridiculous set of AirMech units possible. So,
are you bragging about your ability to count, or are you making a comment towards just the large number of units?
I am I am bragging about my ability to read the file count at the bottom of my file browser.
Very nice.
If that's everything. Anyway, let's keep going, and let's just go randomly, Frisky, or let's just go with something easier. Let's go with Brute. Brute, I would easily put in S tier.
Okay.
What's better, Brute or level 4 creeps?
I would put them on par with each other. You'd rather have Brutes in an outpost, but you have to build those, and they have the level lock.
Okay.
And the level 4 creeps just keep coming.
And Paralikid is asking, why are there creeps on this tier list? Is because they are units that you can control, and they're going to be in a PvP game. There's no opportunity cost to them, so getting creeps, you didn't have to get creeps instead of something else. You just always have creeps. Well, that's part of this BS meme subjectiveness that we're factoring in, okay?
You are able to stack creeps, though. Strategically, you can use sergeants or boxers, or actually now you can direct command them. You don't even need to play around with that.
One can argue that stacking creeps is also a skill-based thing, because you have to multitask and juggle fighting the mid-fight and going back and stacking creeps before they hit the mid-fight and become dead and useless.
And since they're free, it does introduce a new complication, since everything is supposed to be balanced on cost and build speed.
Apparently Overkill is citing a sergeant mechanic change, but I could have sworn that's been...
I know it does a passive buff to nearby infantry, and it has,
and it doesn't do.
It gives a slow heal as well, or something like that. But I haven't used sergeants really ever since they added custom commands.
I think the fact that we don't really know what it is, but we know that they're just really good as infantry to begin with, make the side buffs sort of irrelevant, right? I mean, almost irrelevant, pretty friggin' close. No one uses it for that purpose, so who cares? Anyway, let's go on to Sam. Sam, I would put in A tier just because it can neutralize really quick, but it has low HP.
But it doesn't live up to its name. It's supposed to be an anti-air, and it can't shoot air units for shit.
Insane Firebat would argue that it doesn't stand for surface to air. It stands for surface to anywhere. And that's actually what it says in the game, which is, in my opinion, dumb. Like,
if air is part of anywhere, then it still doesn't live up to its name.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. But I still would put it in A tier. And yeah.
Stupid ass missiles.
Stupid ass missiles. Let's go to Fixer. Fixer, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I know you're gonna disagree with that because you love Fixers.
I do love Fixers, but I also lose.
Okay.
Almost every game I play.
All right.
So there is that.
So the next one I'm going to do is a controversial one. It's going to be Rocketeer. Rocketeer, at one point, if you remember, was the spammy, if I just make a bunch of these and fly everywhere, they're going to be ridiculous. So I don't think, considering this is an all-time tier list with a recency bias, I don't think we can put it any lower than A tier.
Yeah, when that was released, it was, you build only Rocketeers, guaranteed port damage, you cannot stop it, you win.
I think there was a stage after it was released, too. Okay. I forgot to mention what I thought would be a good rule is we shouldn't factor the just released version of these units because all units are always very broken right after they get released, just so they see some use and then they get balanced down. That's just a general pattern. That's the basic procedure for new AirMech units. So for the just released versions, we sort of had to ignore that, if that makes sense.
Oh, fine.
So, Rocketeer, I would say we can put in A tier because even after they were even after they were rebalanced or whatever you want to call it, they were still insane from what I remember. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're still not bad. You're usually better off building other things, but I think if you have Rocketeers, no one's going to yell at you and say you're stupid, but they're going to be like, well, that's different.
Why don't you pick the next one, Frisky? Pick another infantry. It's your call.
The FF2000.
Oh, Jesus. Where do you want to put that? Because apparently, according to Mystic Llama, there was a point when it was earth-shatteringly OP, but I don't remember that super well.
It was good versus players. It would, home in on players, and it did a lot of melee damage. So if you had someone try to striker sword in a pile of FF2000s, they'd just blow up.
I feel like that was just a meme too. Like everyone was just messing with it, and they were massing FF2000s on the little pillar on Thar, and if you touched it, you died almost instantly. So I don't remember that. I'm gonna just currently throw it in D tier because they can be useful, but yeah. Is that fair? All right. So let me go.
That's fine.
Let me go with Boomer as the next one. Boomer, I'm going to throw that in. At the very least, I feel like
fairly high.
I feel like A tier is the lowest you can possibly put it.
They get hard countered so bad by so many things, but if you don't have Gaddies and Mass Jackals, then Boomers are really, really good.
Okay, so would it make sense to put it right below that hard counter tier at the A tier?
I think that'd be reasonable.
Yeah, okay.
I think if you take Gaddies out of the game, then Boomers will just fucking shred, man.
All right. So I think A tier is another great spot to put it. Next, infantry, Frisk.
Shooter.
This is in alphabetical order, so okay. Shooter. B tier.
Really? Even though they outrange almost everything, and you can just set, because in 1v1, you can just set a couple on the side, and if they don't get scouted, then they're going to neutralize, they're going to take out basically the whole army.
So they are on par with an infantry, although cannot hold outposts well, can neutralize them extremely quickly, and another infantry that, at one point where if you just made a bunch of them and literally flew around with them, they would just completely destroy everything in its path. You want to put it on the same tier as that?
Because there's definitely a long period of time where people were saying shooters completely overpowered because you can't counter it. But now with things like busters and stuff. If you're on a tighter map and you have a mid fight, then shooters are useless. But if you're on something like Veil, shooters are really, really good.
I'm seeing a good amount of disagreement in chat, and what I want to tell chat right now is you are wrong as wrong can be. Prove me right, or prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I don't care what your opinions are until you make me care. All right.
I'd say with the existence of hard counters, I agree with the general sentiment of chat that a shooter is going to be better than a boomer to have in your loadout because they're more versatile. Boomers are more easily countered than shooters.
Okay, fortunately, I respect you slightly more than chat, not by a lot, by a little. I will put that in what, C tier then, or sorry, B tier. Put what? Move boomers down or move shooters up?
Boomers down.
Boomers down. All right.
Boomers down. If you're spamming shooters instead of brutes,
okay,
you got issues probably.
I think I want to save soldier for last. Let's do that. Let's go to assassin. Assassin, I'm going to put in C tier with fixer. That's
yeah.
That's about right, right?
They're a meme.
They're almost a meme.
There are times when they're funny. There was a time. But once again, it's like when they were released, it's like, oh, you can just build assassins, put them on attack fort.
I remember that. Oh my god, it was stupid.
Damage.
That was hilarious. I bet and you can kind of still do that to the same effect, but just not as, it's not as broken, but it's still pretty hilarious.
There's a solid 2-month period. You just spam assassins, drop them on attack fort. You do nothing else, you win.
Exactly. I think that's a fair spot to put it, because that was a really long time ago. So recency bias. Mm-hmm. Jumper, I would probably put on the same tier because it was never that.
Jumper is basically equivalent to Sam. I mean, it doesn't do quite as much damage.
It doesn't neutralize as fast, and that is probably the biggest thing about Sam. So let's put it on B tier with Boomer.
So if that's the case, like, why would you build jumpers? Or is that why no one builds jumpers?
We have 100,000 different types of infantry, Frisky. That is a question for almost all of them. We haven't put Sergeant up there, so yeah. Okay, let's go on.
Well, you gotta throw Necro in.
Necro, I would actually put Necro at somewhere higher because with high level usage, it can be devastating. I don't think we can put it any lower than A tier.
I think Necro's really good. I never have the presence of mind to build them. It's, oh, wow, I managed to actually stop that push. Hey, let me build Necros. Yeah, that's the last thing that comes to mind.
I think the biggest, the player who uses Necro the most to the highest effectiveness is probably Pro. He loves the Necros, and he destroys with them, honestly. It's pretty insane. So
I've seen Death use them to great effect as well.
Well, but that's Happy Death. You can't.
Most high-level 1v1s don't really have a lot of straight pushes, though, so your opportunities to use Necro are much rarer, but I don't think that really discounts Necro. You just have fewer opportunities to really capitalize on them.
Right. So is A tier, after all that discussion, on par with Shooter, Rocketeer, Sam, factoring in high-level usage? A tier. Moving on. We have 84 units in this bitch, Frisky. Let's go on to Butcher. Butcher is an S tier. It might be higher.
Butcher's high.
Butcher's high. At least S tier. We're still going to rearrange this. We're just putting it in there. We're going to put everything in like general spots right now.
Butcher hard counters so many things. I would be tempted to rank Butcher one notch higher.
One notch higher. All right, I'm good with that. Let's put it in. It's the highest ranked infantry so far. We still haven't put in Sergeant. So
Butcher is one of those things that if you're just trying to play a classic strategy and then someone's going hardcore current meta, it's like they're going to start dropping gaddies, and you're like, well, fuck, that counters almost everything. And so you build some tanks or something. It's like, you can't beat that. And then they start dropping butchers. It's like, fuck, well, okay, what counters butchers? Drop some jackals. Nope, butchers kill jackals. Drop some. The only thing that really counters butchers is more butchers or gaddies. And so it just creates this triangle of hard counters that you must have. I would be tempted to put Butcher and Triple S.
Well, considering
just because, I feel like you have to have butchers.
Considering you can only drop 4 butchers at a time max, a certain number of softer counter units, such as Dillos, I'm tempted to say Gemini, but everyone knows that's stupid. But
Gemini do not counter anything they're intended to counter.
I'm going to keep it in double S right now. We'll see what happens when we move on. There's only a couple stupid infantry left. Let's go to Flamer. That's
Flamer stupid.
They were Flamer bombs at one point, but that was a very long time ago. I'm tempted to drop it into D tier.
And that was a very short-phased mechanical change to try and make them suck less, but they've always had just terrible DPS, terrible everything. I'd put them with FF2000.
It's funny because along with Morty, Flamer was also categorized as the AoE infantry, which is like almost an oxymoron considering how infantry are used.
I mean, if they were more survivable, then having infantry that's close range doing high damage might make sense. But they're not.
The one cool thing about infantry is they can kind of like all stack in the same spot, whereas other units push each other around, if you know what I mean. So like is there a term for that? Like area density or something like that? I'm not really sure how to, but you get what I'm saying, right? You can kind of put them all in the same space and they can like almost occupy the same space.
They can stack and focus fire.
Yeah.
But
Overkill is saying...
I do like the idea of Flamer dropping armor. That would make sense. That would be cool. But mechanical changes aren't going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But Overkill is saying to drop Flamer into F tier. Are you saying that it is even lower than FF2000, or we should move both into F tier?
Overkill? You can still capture outposts with Flamer.
Right. FF2000 just acts a fool, right?
They are both equivalently the really, really shittiest infantry, but they are infantry. So I'd say that's still a point in their favor to make them not like absolutely, completely useless. They're just one of the more useless things you could ever think about getting.
I'm not hearing anything useful, Frisky, because you're not telling me what tiers to put stuff in.
I'm agreeing with where it is right now is good.
All right.
D is in tilted.
All right. What we
there
got
is no
left?
double T here.
Okay. What we got left is Morty, Runner, Soldier, Sergeant. I think those are the only infantry left on this list.
With where we've got everything else, I'd probably put Soldier Bravo.
Soldier at B?
Yeah, and I'd say I would really consider Mortys and Soldiers interchangeable. That there's virtually no difference. Soldiers do like some damage if you're trying to neutralize with them. Mortys do basically no damage, but they're harder to snipe.
I would probably put Runner on the same tier as well.
I'd say Runners are basically interchangeable. They're kind of the same trade-off. I think if you're going to take just a spammable infantry in your loadout, Runner or Soldier is a decent thing to just kind of throw in there.
And now, the Sergeant.
Probe and Sergeant, yeah.
Oh, shoot. Probe is still... I completely forgot. Let's do Probe first. Probe... See, I love the Probe. I think Probe is one of the most underrated units of all time, and I would throw it into S tier. That's my opinion.
Are you serious?
And yes.
It doesn't even have guns.
It doesn't need guns. It costs basically 0. It has extremely fast movement, and it can distract a single tank bullet. That's all you need. Does not.
But it's so weak.
Overkill. Overkill's point does not set off light mine. Does not set off bear trap. That's right.
So that makes them better than Runners.
That makes them better than Runners in my book. They're way cheaper, and as tank fodder, as just damage. They don't even soak damage. They're like an overshield almost. It's like a single unit overshield because they can just,
And aren't I the only player in the game that uses light mines?
That is a very, very strong possibility that you're the only player that uses light mines, yes. So maybe that's well, I guess it's relative.
I really don't know how much of a benefit that I guess hard countering FriskyCow is something that so many people are able to do at this point. It's really not even a plus.
Probe is on S tier, change my mind. Sergeant is on double S tier with Butcher, in my opinion. Yeah?
Just for being a strong infantry?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. They are.
What is the current sergeant mechanic?
Now
that you can custom command units.
Overkill. I'm fairly certain that it's just some sort of attack buff or heal buff to nearby infantry up to 4 or something like that. But I don't remember exactly. Level 1 attack and level 1 defense paladin aura. There you go. That's what he said. So
and it doesn't Overkill was implying that it does not link nearby infantry to stick to them anymore.
Well, it's because you can command infantry now. There's no point in it.
Right, you can, but something like a boxer is still going to link them. I would assume that the sergeant, that they wouldn't have removed the mechanic just because mechanics haven't changed in like a year or 3.
But effectively, if
it does give a small healing aura, I believe.
I thought it did. Yeah, it doesn't also give 10 HP per second to nearby infantry. So it probably has a small attack, defense, and heal aura. That's about it. And with the overwhelming use of infantry as army units, obviously that's a useful thing. /S.
I miss Empty Soul.
So, okay, but either way, whatever it does or does not, it is the current most HP and damage efficient, I believe, or at least very close to it. HP efficient is probably well, not efficient, but like it's very HP dense. It's the highest HP infantry I think that you can carry 4 of at a reasonable level is probably one of the biggest things. So it's great for cheesing. It's great for bringing back to neutralized posts to claim and hold for as long as period of time as you can. Stuff like that. So currently, because it's currently extremely strong, I guess you could knock it down 1 tier because this is an all-time tier list. It goes into S tier. And butchers have always been badass.
I would, with what we've got right now, I'd be tempted to bump Fixer up 1 from C to B, just to be on par with Soldier and Jumper and Runners.
I'm going to veto that one for now, and we'll revisit that at the end of the stream. Are we missing any infantry? No. Okay. All right. Let's go to...
Not technically. Sentry turret kind of looks like an infantry.
That's not very useful right now, Frisky. The next category we're going to go with is... Let's just go with vehicles. That's what's the next category on the units list in the wiki. And there are a ton of them. So the all-time classic baseline model, where the heck is it in this stupid list? The Jackal. Where is it? It's killing me. There we go. The Jackal. Shut up.
Is it a Jackal? It's a Jackal. Jackal.
Okay. And I know everyone's going to hate hearing this. But because
if you're going all time, you got to rank them fairly high,
especially considering the power it has spammed with follow command and Osprey. I mean, everyone's gonna hate hearing that, but the facts are the facts. It's effective, so I think it's minimum A tier.
I would agree.
All right,
because it's still not bad. I think they're outclassed in almost every way by gangsters. And as far as spammability, Jokers have kind of taken the original Jackal, but the Overkill's pointing out the upkeep increase. It's like everyone was complaining that Jackals get spammed, so now they cost 2 upkeep, but Jokers cost 1. So it's like, okay, this defeats the only utility of Jackal.
But it's still... Even with that, it's still extremely effective. And this is all time. So consider before that balance change how ridiculous it must have been. As an all-time tier list, I think A is a good spot. Let's move on. Once again, a message to chat. You're wrong. You have no brain. Prove me wrong. Anyway, let's go to...
Can't fight those facts in logic.
Let's go to your favorite, or potentially your favorite unit of all time, Frisky the Zipper.
That's not my favorite unit of all time. I would actually say my Jackal is one of my favorites. Jackal and Fixer.
Damn it, Frisky. Where should I put Zipper?
Probably
B.
Zipper, I would probably stick with Jackal. Wherever Jackal goes, I think Zipper should follow. I think those are very similar in role, and Jackals are more spammable. Yeah, sure, they do more damage. Zippers spawn the additional runners, so you're trying to do. I think if you use either one, you'll accomplish a very similar objective.
All right, I'm good with that. It's I mean, the obvious difference is the infantry spawn, which
right.
So are we saying Tango can also go in the same spot? It's an easy call.
It depends on the all time, because there was a period of time where Tango had 100% chance to spawn 2 infantry.
That's true.
Well, but they've messed with the spawn rates on Tango so frequently, because there's been periods where Tangos were just straight up overpowered. There's a period where the piercing on Tango was like 5 times Zipper for some reason.
There we go.
And Tangos were the fort killers.
I was about to bring that up. I was about to bring up the fact that you are focusing only on the relevant things, and the extremely pertinent irrelevant things, which is an oxymoron, is that it basically became the fort drop unit or fort like rush unit, because of how strong it was.
There was a long period of time where Tango just murdered forts and tanks because it had just way too high unit piercing. So I would probably rank Tango higher if you're calling it an all-time.
I'm going to keep it at A because that was such a long time ago. Recency biases.
Fine.
Okay. Joker!
You're so subjective.
Joker, I'll probably put 1 tier below the rest. Is that fair?
Sure.
All right. Oh, that was quick.
Yes, Master.
Rebel, probably right about the same. I mean, they're all going to be right around the same tier, I think. You know what? Joker might be 1 tier below, honestly.
You remember when Akros almost won a tournament with only Rebels?
That is true. I mean, that was like 6 years ago, but yeah.
But he literally only built Rebels and nothing else. And beat every player except Tangi.
It was probably the easiest thing ever. Yeah, I mean, and one of the biggest reasons he did so poorly against Tangi is because the starting map, I remember this very clearly, was Chasm. So it's probably the worst map for that strategy.
Rebel was added as in honor of the Syrian civil war to show solidarity with the murdering of people.
Wasn't that just a mess on the forums, though? My God, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, so I dropped Jackal down to C tier. I put Rebel in B tier. We can move him around. Let's go to Gangster. I'm going to throw that at double S tier.
Gangster's high. Gangster's high.
Right now, I'm putting it in double S. I mean, it might be single S. It's probably not triple.
I would be very tempted to take Butcher and Gangster and put them both in triple S, but we'll see what makes it up there.
Yeah, we need to put all the units in rough positions before we start finalizing, air quotes, finalizing our... God, this is so important. I'm so glad we're doing this. This is such an important exercise.
Gangster's one of those units that if you do not have it in your loadout, then you just suck.
Yes. The times Gangster is useful, you're already winning. I don't know. Maybe.
It reinforces snowball mechanic. That's true, because their main downside is cost. They're expensive, and you have more money when you already have an outpost lead, but they will solidify that lead like nothing else.
So, in that sense, it's basically a closer unit. It's a nail in the coffin unit.
Sure.
So I like it where it is for now. We might move it. Everyone, don't get your panties all up in a bunch. This is...
My panties are bunched up.
And
jimmies are twisted.
Anyone just joining or not that didn't join at the beginning, this is an all-time tier list. We are factoring in the history of OP-ness, that I just said that, of all the units, but we are putting more of an emphasis on the current power. So if there was a point in time where any unit was extremely bad or extremely good, usually we're going to factor that in and either bump it up or down accordingly.
I know the reason why Gangster doesn't go in triple S.
Okay.
Because Gaddy exists.
Oh God. Yeah, that's a good one. Boxer. So they're not great now.
I mean, they're not great. They're still decent cost for hit points. I think their armor's been nerfed. Boxer's sitting at. Yeah, let's take a look at this stats.
Well, here's one relevant thing. Since we are considering all-time tier list, do you remember when you could put 2 boxers at either level 1 or level 2 for certain mechs in your cargo, and bring 8 infantry or 16 in a 2v2 to cheese a post?
Yeah, but the AI with the infantry that come out of the boxer has always been jacked up.
Honestly, I think it was kind of a toss-up, because it was like the whole, it was like that clock thing, because infantry is like on an internal clock to evaluate what outposts they are trying to capture, or at least they used to be. They used to be.
They still panic.
Okay, so
it's like, hey, all 16 of us are at this outpost. Let's bail and run every direction at the same time. Oh, I guess maybe we'll want to take it. Nah, I changed my mind. Meanwhile, they're all dead.
Okay, so I'll go with B tier for now. I think that sounds about right. Slightly lower than the good vehicles, about on par with the Rebel in terms of effectiveness. Better than Joker.
If you're going to spam something, you're not spamming boxers.
Okay, what is left here? We are missing... Oh, God. I need help with ratters. I don't know how ratters work at all. Someone tell me where to put ratters.
Ratters?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the day.
C?
Because there's...
B? I don't...
Armor piercing 70 right now versus Jackal.
Everyone's saying C.
20. So Ratters has substantially higher armor piercing, but the DPS is just kind of sad.
Okay.
I would still rank them below Jackal.
Of course. It's just whether or not they're 2 tiers below Jackal or 1. So I think everyone's saying B or that C, that they're terrible. They might even go lower. We'll see. I don't know if they're as bad as a Flamer and FF2000, but yeah, let's move on. I think
Ratters are just one of those units that got added because the graphic designer got bored.
I think the only thing left in this category is one of your favorite units, Frisky. Again, I'm going to say this, is the Bucky.
I would rank Bucky fairly high. If you're going all time, Bucky's got to be really high.
It's got to be at least A, if not S. And the funny thing is, Bucky used to be absolute garbage, like just straight trash way back in the day. But at one point, everyone started saying, why does Bucky suck? Why do we even have this unit if it sucks so bad? Let's give it some purpose. And they did. And I think it goes in S tier right now.
I claim full credit for its mechanical rebalance, much to your protest.
Okay.
Because Broadside was all about, no, it's got to be perfectly accurate. It's only fair if it's perfectly accurate. It should be a siege unit. It should be like artillery.
Do you remember what my idea was for it? I wanted some sort of mix. I wanted an accurate shot 1 out of 2, 3, 4. For 1 out of 4 times. Oh, no, sorry. 2 out of 4 times. Because I thought it should go center, left, center, right, center, left, center, right. And just kind of shoot in a spread like that.
I don't like it being completely predictable like that, because we did that with the artillery, where with the jammers, when they countered artillery, there was 2 locations where you knew the shell was going to fall, that if it's getting jammed, it's going to go here. And so it's 100% predictable that you would just leave it tiny, that you would have jammers, all the artillery would be aimed, and you just have these 2 circles where people just knew not to drop their units.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It was bullshit.
That was pretty terrible.
The siege units, the long distance units, I think were made substantially better with RNG. As much as everyone hates RNG, I think it really helps keep the unit fun.
I guess conceptually, because they are siege units, they have the time to actually balance out the RNG. That's probably okay. Anyway, we're getting way off topic right now, Frisky.
That's what we do.
Bucky is an S tier. Change my mind, chat. Chat, you suck. Tell me why I'm wrong. Anyway, let's go. Okay, so someone's saying...
Well, what if you count not high-tier games? Because if you're starting AirMech, you build nothing but Bucky, you'll win every match. until you start getting matched against the people in the current 1v1 top of the ladder.
In the same way that we're emphasizing recent balance, we are also going to emphasize high tier usage. Because this is literally
just making up rules as we go.
This is literally a tier list, Frisky. It doesn't matter what bad players do. It only matters what good players do. Shut your mouth. Tell me what next unit to use. Where are we going?
Now my feelings are hurt.
We're pretty much done with vehicles, even though Mystic Llama and Overkill are telling me that.
Well, you can move on to the repair vehicles, and the jamming.
Let's go to repair real quick. Patcher, Ratchet, Honeypot. That's it. I mean, and Fixer and Hero.
I still want to rank Fixer higher.
You might have an argument later. You might have a chance. But right now, let's go Ratchet, because Ratchet's the most obvious. It's got to be at the very least S, possibly double S, because of their.
I would agree. I think Ratchet's kind of the standard healer. If you're going to take a repair unit, Ratchet is kind of what you got.
Okay, so I'm going to put it in double S for now, and I'm going to put Honeypot in S.
Especially if it's on socket. Honeypot can be really good.
Patcher is a little bit different, but I think you can also, just because healing in a
especially since no one really uses artillery all that effective, the fact that the Patcher has a smaller HP pool, I don't think is nearly as significant as it used to be when there was so much more splash.
Okay.
Because I feel like the normal mid-fight characteristic now is a lot of Buster Micro, the occasional Bucky, a couple of artillery maybe, but it's not like spam the shit out of artillery, because when those were the days, you couldn't get Patcher. It's just not even an option.
I agree that it's not comparable to back in the day, but you do still see large numbers of artillery sometimes. It depends on the game, depends on the setup, depends on it depends on the unit layout and the player, and are they using Osprey, blah, blah, blah. So, are we good with both? I feel like both Honeypot and Patcher in S tier is wrong. One has to go down to A tier, but which one is it? I'm feeling Honeypot.
It's very socket dependent. I feel like if you don't have your Honeypots on socket, you should really be building something else. So, and just the overwhelming quantity of socketable units puts a lot of competition for that slot. And most of the maps don't have all that advanced socket locations. You've got maybe one socket in a leading position, but the majority of your sockets are generally going to be in the back, like for econ structures. So Honeypot generally doesn't get a whole lot of use, I don't think.
Overkill makes a good point, but I'm going to ignore them for now.
As far as how the upkeep changes?
No. Patcher's bad against Bertha. If you have, never mind. I'm not going to state them. You can read them. Everyone can see them. Let's move on to Hero. Hero is one of my favorite units of all time, but it does suck. At the very highest,
it was the first unit ever added that heals mechs.
Right. I think it's the only unit. Oh, generator, I guess, in theory. Now, but anyway, at the very highest, it's B tier. It's probably C tier. It's probably C tier. Yeah.
Yeah. They're expensive. They take a long time to build. They're easy to counter because you can't body block for them.
And they don't actually follow you. You have to actually micro them within range. They follow you
if you're damaged.
They follow you if you're damaged, if you're within their range.
So I would say that Hero has potential, but the way that it functions makes it garbage. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not functioning as intended.
So I'm gonna put it at C tier for now. We might bump it down. And that's it for healing. Let's go to jamming, which is very easy because I'm gonna put Dinger in F tier.
I think you just put all three jamming units in F tier.
Well, but so we have to kind of think about current.
Sonya and Jammer could go in D then, because there are limited times when you can actually do a really cool kind of side push and no one sees it on the radar. But in a high tier game, especially 2v2, you shouldn't have the lack of game sense to get surprised like that.
How much
know that there's someone stacking shit off screen?
How much do we factor in artillery deflection era?
That, I mean,
it was
I guess
a long
it was
time
basically
ago.
A full year or two.
It was at least a year, yeah.
During that period, it was required.
It was
must
required.
have had jammer.
So
if you did not have jammer, you're bad at the game.
I think all
Dinger
three
had
of these
some artillery jam with it.
I think all three of these units were out during that time. I think Dinger and Sonya, I mean, they currently still do, but I think even then, way back then, they had their level locks. So Jammer definitely needs to go up. So let's put Jammer at C. Let's put Sonya at D. I think this is fair.
Okay.
I think this is fair.
I approve of.
Dinger is still dumb. A lot of people used it late game against Bertha because it was super survivable, but a lot of people were just dropping it because Sonya was still sufficient at the time. Okay, so we are done with jamming. Let's go into artillery. Archie, Bertha. That's it. Artie, C tier. Archie, A tier.
Artie has always been the worst artillery. There has never been a time when Archie was not better than Artie.
I think I'm going to put Archie in D tier. Or sorry, Artie in D tier. Archie in S tier and Bertha in A tier.
You're ranking the Archies higher than the Bertha?
I am, because...
Just because of the early game level unlock?
Yep, indeed. I mean, it's...
Because Berthas have always been a better unit.
Well, as a unit at the stage that they're used. You cannot just simply factor it. You have to factor in early game versus mid game versus late game. Bertha was at the minimum brought out mid game at level 6, whereas Archie, people made them basically immediately. And it was very map dependent.
I think the original intent was Artie had like a much wider range. Archie was supposed to have this like really narrow firing arc.
I'm going to stop you. I don't care about the intent, Frisky. No more intent. Intent is irrelevant. This is a tier list, damn it!
It still sucks.
It's a tier list.
Artie has always sucked.
It's always sucked. I'm going to put this in D tier. We have an argument from Jesuits that it's an SS unit, and I don't care what you're saying. I don't care what you're saying unless you say why. If you don't tell me why, chat, I'ma igno. Anyways.
I would rank Bertha higher than Archie for this.
You would rank it higher than Archie?
I would, because many games go into the late game, and you do kind of have to start swapping your Berthas, or swapping your Archies out for Berthas. They're just straight up better in every way. They do more damage. They're longer range. They're more upkeep efficient.
I mean, they were much more powerful back in the in the artillery meta days. Those days are long gone. And they've been long gone for several years.
Now we're just ranking them lower for the sake that now if you're in a long range stalemate mid fight, artillery are not the thing that's going to change it for you.
Probably, or it's less so. Obviously, everything has their effects, but it's nowhere
they're
close.
Both kind of on par with Bucky now, which I can agree with that.
We'll move these around later. Let's go to turrets. Okay. Starting with the classic T99, which I'm going to put at B tier. Is that fair?
T99's decent.
It's decent. I mean, okay, what was the OP era of T99 way back in the day? It was when the range was really high.
Such wicked anti-air. And before Neo got the goddamn missile scramble.
Well, it had high. It was really good for a sustain war. People started opening with tank and T99 mixed because T99 had a higher range and it had the same upkeep as a 2 upkeep tank. I don't know if they're 3 now, but I do remember at one point they were 2. So you could basically convert your entire army to T99s, and if you were playing the leapfrog metagame, then it didn't matter.
Oh, right, because they had we balanced that with the long ass setup time, where it's like 10 seconds.
Eventually, We did that didn't exist before.
But there was definitely a long period of time where T99 was just, if that's all you need.
T99 B tier, T99 B tier, T45 A tier.
Cool.
No,
T45 higher?
No.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the fast deploy cheap defense for after the cheats. This is the primary usage for T45 over time is the quick deploy, quick build after cheese outpost secure.
I would say it's cheese defense.
That is also an option. That is another application.
It's a shit turret, but it builds really fast and it's cheap. I like that balanced decision.
It's
You're welcome.
Moving on, let's go to Gaddy. Gaddy at the very least is S tier.
No, Gaddy top triple S.
Triple S.
If you don't have Gaddy, you're bad at the game.
I'm gonna put it in double S for now, and we can shift it because once again, Gaddy's only been powerful for the last few years. Before that, it's been absolute garbage.
Well, originally it was only good at its role and killing light units, but no one was stupid enough to build light units. They just build tanks. So Gaddy really didn't have a role. Now Gaddy kills everything.
That's sad. So let's put it in SS, and we've kind of avoided putting everything in the very top and the very bottom, except for Dinger, for the very bottom. So we're gonna move stuff around, but I just need to get all this stuff because we have 84 friggin' units to put in this list. Okay, so. Next one, let's go to Peppa. Peppa is one of the newest. I think it's the newest unit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's fairly new in a sense.
What was introduced after it? Nothing. Right?
Just squirts missiles everywhere. I don't know what the most recent unit was because it's been a while.
It's like
had any changes to the game.
It's like an alternative Bucky. Okay, Mystic Llama is right. He has a point. It is not as good as T99, or at the very least, it's on the same level. You want to drop it to C tier. Let's drop it to C tier. It's useful, potentially, but not really. What else is here? Tesla. Tesla Tower goes into double S. Does anyone in chat disagree? Because it's just...
I think Tesla's should be high. Tesla should be very high, yeah. Because Tesla, it can still shoot up cliffs. I think they tried to fix that, but it didn't work.
I don't think they tried to fix that. Anyway, I don't remember that. I'm pretty sure that never happened, Frisky. You're smoking. Let's go to... Nothing else is really socket turrets.
I mean, if you're just trying to drop some crap off your list, go ahead and take all those lock boxes and safe boxes and vault boxes and put them in F with Dinger.
I'm gonna put vault box at D because at one point it was very good. This is a historical tier list, Risky. At one point they were amazing. Where the hell's the last one? Because their
intent was to transfer credits between players. And who the hell's going to sling a player?
If you bring up intent one more time, Frisky, I'm kicking you out. Intent?
It's very tempting. Very tempting. Now, wouldn't you rank the lockbox higher because it spams as a neutral unit and you can sell them on half the maps now?
Well, we're not talking about the neutral version. We're only talking about the player-built versions. The player-built or player
just because they're colored blue?
Yes. Unfortunately. These are not anything you can either bring in your loadout or use as an arm. I mean, the only thing that you can't bring in your loadout that I put in here were creeps, but I felt like that was relevant due to the due to the infantry thing.
You also didn't put the bomber drones on there. Shame.
I did not because you can't build them. Let's go with mines next. Heavy mine obviously goes into double S. Light mine likewise goes into D. Stasis mine probably goes into F.
Heavy mine is super good, but it's so straightforward to counter now. Especially if you're an Osprey, you can just hold right click and this as if there were no heavy mines.
We are getting a lot of pushback on the Bertha placement, and no one is really telling me why. All they're telling me is do it now, it's really good. And that's it. No one has any reasoning. And right now, chat, if you have no reasoning, you have no attention from me. That's right. That's right.
Even I don't have attention. I could yell at them directly.
They're just saying what they equal. Bertha is better than a certain number. Why? Is it the damage? Is it the longevity? Is it the range? Why? What's good about it? Come on, people. I'm gonna keep reading chat.
I would be tempted to bump Light Mine more up.
It's just better. What a terrible.
Because if you've got someone who all they're doing is spamming jackals and you have Light Mines, all right, I guess you win. Light Mines can act as a hard counter. They're very selective. They're very limited, but I'd rank them higher than the FF2000 for Christ's sake.
Well, maybe the FF2000 needs to go down. Okay. All right. You make a good point. You're comparing it to FF2000. Let's move it up by one. All right. Bertha fort damage.
What about the Sky Eye?
Sky Eye is like miscellaneous. You want to go?
I would like.
You want to handle random
throw
miscellaneous?
in the other mines.
Is there another mine? There's no more mines.
Isn't there a Bear Trap?
Oh, Bear Trap. Bear Trap goes into C with Light Mine?
Because Bear Trap had a very prominent period of time where, remember when you couldn't fortify outposts?
Yeah.
It was just anyone who drops the infantry in captures the outpost, and so both sides were spamming infantry, but whoever built Bear Traps gets the mid-fight.
So...
And Bear Traps couldn't be destroyed by anything. The only way to remove Bear Traps was to have repair units next to them. I think now when they're engaged, they can take damage, so Bear Traps eventually get cleared, but it used to be you just drop 4 Bear Traps in front of someone's fort, and they don't get creeps for the rest of the game. Congrats.
A tier.
For historical, I'd rank Bear Traps A.
A. I think A is a nice spot for it. Are we missing anything in this category? I don't think so. I think we're good. You want to go miscellaneous? Let's go Guardians.
Guardians.
Let's go Blaster Guardians. We'll put that in B tier. I think.
They had a heyday. Blaster Guardians, Striker Blaster Guardian with Lexi back when you could fly with pilots.
Yes, especially when
serious.
Before it was a limit of 6, not a limit of 4. So it was pretty ridiculous, It was pretty insane. It was really ridiculous. So let's keep it at B tier. Energy Guardians, I'd probably rank higher, at least A tier.
Okay.
B S tier.
Energy
maybe?
Guardians are useful.
S tier, maybe? Let's keep it at A tier. All right, I'm seeing some better arguments for Bertha. I'm going to bump it up to double S, one notch higher than Archie.
I approve of this.
Repair Guardian. Oh, sorry. Wow, I grabbed the wrong one. Repair Guardian.
That was so good with Bomber when the Bomber's abilities involved Energy Leech.
So, Repair and Blaster are both kind of synergistic. Is that a word? Synergistic?
Sort of. I mean, they had times where they were good. I think they have similar histories, but neither is particularly good anymore. Because if you have Repair Guardians, you're just so energy starved, it's not even funny. Especially since you can just heal yourself for energy.
Yeah, since they've gotten a lot weaker now just due to the Q heal. So maybe we got to drop it down to C tier. I think that's probably fair.
I'd say Repair Guardians, when you couldn't just stand there and heal yourself for free for no reason, Repair Guardians made a little bit more sense. Now they're completely eclipsed. Radar Guardian, I'd rank really high.
Would you rank it above Energy Guardians?
You get 4 Radar Guardians, you see the whole map, man.
You'd put, we currently have Energy Guardian in A tier. You would put Repair Guardian in S tier on par with Bucky, Archie, Sergeant?
I would put Radar Guardian up with all those things. If you're going to have any Guardian in your loadout, I think it should be Radar.
I think it's the safest. Well, Energy and Radar are the same in terms of safeness because they're not going to drain your energy.
They don't consume anything.
Yes,
that would
they don't
be correct.
consume anything.
I think Radar is extensively more useful.
Okay. Especially when it comes to later game when your energy capacity is huge. So Energy Guardian,
you've got so much energy, you're never going to run out anyway.
Or at least it'll be a lot less impactful. So, I'm good with that for now.
And running out of energy doesn't get you killed like it used to, because you can just jump and hop indefinitely and no one will ever hit you, whether they're high or low.
Now, Blade Guardian, I'm going to throw into double S tier, just due to its synergy with Neo.
Yeah, and Blade Guardian, does it even consume energy? It's supposed to, but I don't think it actually does in any reasonable way.
Did it ever? I don't remember if it did or not.
It's been nerfed so many times, but it's still pretty good.
Well, S tier, double S tier, for sure. There's no way it's below that. It's stupid only for history. Strong. Yeah, stupid strong. That is the last Guardian.
There was a long period of time where Neo could just put on 4 Blade Guardians, cloak, and everything would die, and you wouldn't even have to decloak.
It's pretty ridiculous, yes. Okay, let's move on to, because we gotta. There's 84 mother effing units in this thing. Let's move on to
Sockets? AA.
Gold. We're gonna start with the basic Seeker. And I'm going to have to put it in S tier just because of its history.
For history, you'd rank it triple S.
I know, you'd rank it triple S. but right now it's less effective. It's a less common choice than the Flacker.
Which I would Neo and Aegis hard counter.
Which I'd probably put in S tier, a double S tier Flacker. Probably.
I'd rank Flacker higher than Seeker now, just because it can't be hard countered.
Stinger, I would probably put at B tier. It ain't great.
You'd put Stinger below Seeker.
Oh, for sure,
Any day, yeah.
I'm currently putting it 2 tiers below.
Hat's pretty good. I put Hat with Flacker.
I would not. I would probably put it in the same tier as Stinger.
Really?
You never really see it used. Okay.
Historically, it does very high damage, though.
Historically speaking, Hat had its heyday. It was insanely powerful, but that was a very, 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 very... Can I say very enough times? Very, very, very long time ago. A very long time ago.
It still does good damage, and it's still unblockable.
Mystic Llama is saying a Stinger belongs in C tier, and I am inclined to agree. Just because that's more obvious. I think Hat should be in B tier, honestly. I really do. And now, we move on to Gorgon.
Well, that puts it on par with T99. Okay, sure.
I think Gorgon goes into double S tier.
Gorgon's super good.
It's either double S or S.
If you're able to build Gorgons, you should be building Gorgons.
I don't think you can put Gorgon in triple S. I don't think we'll ever throw it in there because it's not necessary, but goddamn is it good. It is so good.
And they are so hard to kill.
Yes.
And they could shoot forts because they had the AI from the single player, the survival mode. Mm-hmm. So if you just built Gorgons and only Gorgons, you could kill the fort because it's unblockable, and they would just go over and kill the fort. That was hilarious.
That was a bug, though. I mean, not bug, but it was like a design oversight. It's not a bug,
it's a feature.
Well, it was a feature because it used to be a friggin' survival unit. So Balloon had its heyday, but I think we have to put it on par right now with either Hat or in A tier. I'm inclined to put Balloon in B tier.
I wouldn't rank it so high. I mean, it's good for lulz, but I don't think anyone builds Balloon in a serious way. Because you made a map that revolves around just artificially spamming balloons in the center every couple minutes, but still, it was a joke.
Well, that was just for the map. That was a map gimmick, It was part of the map gimmick. So what, you're saying bump it down to C tier? I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you're building balloons, you're about like a person who builds light mines. You're not doing it because it's a legit strategy. You're doing it because it's funny.
Let me interrupt and just to reemphasize how important, my God, how important this work we're doing is right now. This has been 8 years in the making, and I'm so happy that we could share this information with the world. Everyone should know this. Moving on. What the hell is left? Sockets. All right. Lunchbox. B, A. B or A? A or S?
Lunchbox. I love Lunchbox. I would rank that at least A.
At least A. I'm inclined to agree. It might be bumped up to S, honestly.
I think S is fair because it's the only thing that regenerates your fort, man.
Yeah. A is good. Whopper probably has to go into S tier.
Now that it boosts upkeep, yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to admit it, yeah.
Overkill is saying double S. I'm inclined to agree. I was gonna put it there, but I just threw it to S tier. Okay.
It goes pretty high.
Bot Spawner had its moments, but right now it's max C tier. I mean, max C tier. Wouldn't you say?
If you got level 4 creeps, I'd be tempted to say B. I'd kind of put it on par with T99 and Hat. It's like, if you're going to take one of those as a socketable, sure. Bot Spawner can be really good.
I mean, it has its merits in the late game, obviously, but...
if your opponent just sits back and lets you build 10 bot spawners, what's wrong with them?
That's... So, right now you're making an argument to drop it down because you're kind of saying... Because that type of thing only happens in the low-tier games. Right?
Well, that's why it's in B rather than double S, I think it's good where it is now.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with that. What other sockets are there? We have Moneymaker. I mean, just for historical reasons, we can't put it any lower than B, right? I mean...
Yeah.
Moneymaker was 100% required for, at the very least, half of AirMech's lifetime. At least.
It used to be, you must take Moneymaker.
And you had to fail every socket.
Moneymaker, you are a bad player. And you got a Moneymaker in every single socket.
And as soon as you captured an outpost, put a Moneymaker in it so you can make money as soon as possible.
Because the payback time on those was very fast.
Everyone is getting so upset in chat, and I'm so happy. So, they're saying... Okay. I want to ask chat a question. Is AA not necessary? I mean, right now, it's less necessary. But we're talking about the history.
In 1v1, AA is less necessary. I think that's a 1v1 versus 2v2 question.
So, I mean...
2v2, Flak Gorgon. If you're 1v1, is AA really worth it?
Yeah, not as much.
If we're playing a 1v1 on Twin Peaks, I'm not going to start spamming Flackers because I'd really rather have other shit.
I am okay with, honestly, throwing Flacker and Gorgon down into S tier with Seeker.
I think with the recency bias, given that you can jump, anti-air is losing value fast because it is so hard to kill players.
God, I hate jump so much. Everyone does. But yeah.
Jump spam is so good. And I think Flak AA is kind of the only way to stop it right now.
So I'm gonna.
Even then, they do 50% damage to ground targets, so it's like still not that great.
Then I'm gonna move. Oh wait, do they still do 50% to ground units? I thought that changed.
I could have sworn they still do reduced damage to ground units.
Okay,
or ground targets.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Overkill saying 50% is a myth.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, then it doesn't. Either way, I think it's fine to bump these down a tier. I mean, I don't really think this is justified to throw any of these lower than S tier. Seeker, Hat,
if only for historical.
Or sorry, Seeker, Flacker, and Gorgon. Yeah, especially for historical. But if you're saying that these are on the same level as zippers and tangos and freaking bear traps,
minimum S.
Yeah, minimum S. So this is where I'm going to leave it for now. Everyone else, if you want to complain, give me a better reason. Is there any more socketable units? Oh, yes, there is. Generator.
Aegis, Generator, Nuke, yep.
Generator at the very least is double S tier on the same level as Whopper. Everyone is saying it's the best. So right now, I'm going to avoid putting anything in triple S tier until we get to tanks. Because that's going to be...
Especially if you consider historical, because Generator used to be Whopper.
No, but we're talking about... But they just switched the roles at the same time. we have to think about the role that it was in. Just because the unit model was, Whopper before, it's the thing that
you're sliding pictures into slots, not roles. Thank you very much.
Moving on. We're gonna put Missile Silo also in double S. I think. I don't think you can put Missile Silo on the same level as any of the things in the S tier. S tier, if you look at them, like they're not even close to Missile Silo. Missile Silo might be in triple S, but we'll see. Fair?
I think it's a glitch that Osprey Overheal literally negates all damage from Missile Silo.
No, it's not a glitch, it's an oversight.
Sorry, it's a feature.
It's
good players play Osprey. Forgot.
So I mean that is a weird counter.
If Osprey were not a thing, I would definitely rank Missile Silo very high. Very happy. Very happy.
Are there any more sockets on this damn list? No, nothing. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the miscellany here.
There is. Aegis is socketable.
Aegis is socketable, I guess so, but that's like also miscellaneous and it doesn't need a socket to function. Socketable is kind of socket to function.
Neither does generator.
Oh well, that's
neither does Tesla.
Tesla was not in our category of socketables. It was in our category of turrets. In theory, we should have put Aegis in turrets. But that's why I kind of kept it for miscellaneous. I'm going to put Aegis in B tier.
I would rank it higher.
You would rank it higher?
Aegis hard counters so many things. I think especially 2v2, one of you should have Aegis in your loadout, period. Because let's say the other team has a Helix. Oh, now they can't use any of their abilities. Let's say they brought Seekers. Oh, now they can't. Now none of the missiles will hit you. Or they brought Buckies. Oh, one Aegis cancels out like 6 Buckies. So it's Aegis hard counters so many otherwise good options.
Okay.
That it's something that you should have.
I don't think I can put it higher than S. I don't think I can put it in S tier. So I could consider putting it in A tier.
I would rank it as high as you're willing to rank it. I think if you're playing a 2v2,
where would you put it?
You must have Aegis in one of your loadouts. I would put it triple S.
No, don't put it in triple S. What is wrong with you?
I would consider Aegis in a 2v2 match a required unit to have in one of your loadouts.
Oh God.
And that there are so many games that you can lose just because you didn't have it.
Okay, Frisky has a good point, but he's also seems to be a smidge drunk because of the new year. So, chat, if you want to tell me where you think Aegis should go, looking at the rest of the units in each tier, obviously we're still going to move some stuff around at the end. Where should Aegis go? Triple S.
My homie.
I don't know how, is it clear that I don't like Aegis as a unit? Has that been clear through my casts and my comments and my...
Oh, I hate it. I don't think it should exist.
Okay.
But it's such a hard counter that you can't deny that it's there.
Okay.
Aegis is literally the reason I stopped playing Helix.
Helix
was my favorite mech for a long time, but I couldn't play it because someone throws out an Aegis. It's like, well, I don't have ground guns anymore, so fuck me, I guess, right?
Wow. Okay, but I mean, it's very disappointing. Yes. Anyway, okay. So, okay, I'm good. I'm good after all that ridiculousness. For keeping it at S tier. I don't even know how to talk anymore. We forgot Sentry Turret. Which is probably D tier, I'm guessing.
Very low, yeah. D's fine.
At one point, I mean, they can be used for fun things, but there are other units that do that thing better. I knew
almost everything would be better than Sentry Turret.
I knew Pro would say put it super high. Maybe C tier, maybe. I guess it's not as crappy as Vault Box. Sonya. Okay, Sonya. If we're putting Sonya on D tier, I guess I cannot put Sentry Turret on the C tier.
Once upon a time, they made it deliberately crappy just because I think it was an exclusive if you had Silver VIP. So they didn't want a good unit to be one that you could only have VIP.
It was exclusive Steam versus standalone or Chrome.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's put it on C tier for now.
Cool.
Sky
Eye on there.
Sky Eye's in the same tier?
Yeah, because Sky Eye, like, okay, it's sort of useful, but a single radar guardian kind of fixes that problem. The only thing that makes Sky Eye like slightly better would be that you can't see it on radar, but someone's going to accidentally blow up your Sky Eye just because who isn't flying around holding left click all the time already?
I kind of think it needs to go into D tier.
I think Sky Eye would be ranked a little bit lower. Yeah, Sky Eye is kind of practically useless.
Yeah. All right. So
the only thing that would make Sky Eye worth getting is if it could go through jammer. Like if you have a Sky Eye there, then you can see regardless of whether or not there's a jammer.
Well, considering jammer is at what? C tier, right?
Oh yeah, jammer is also crap just because it doesn't accomplish its goal very well.
So.
I think jammer needs a bigger range, and just because of the map layouts, there's really very few times where jammer is actually useful.
So this is one that I'm going to need help on, Vulcan. I don't know where the heck Vulcan should go.
It flies. I'd rank it probably
B?
A or B.
A or B? This
one, A or B.
This one I'm going to have to trust the chat on this because this is a lot. This is a difficult one for me. I'm going to throw it in B tier for now. We can talk about it later, but yeah. It used to be another spam rush. Yeah, I know.
The fact that it can fly and many units cannot attack air kind of makes it similar to shooter in that you can kind of set it, forget it, and it makes a lot of magic happen. But it's very expensive, hard to spam. Before it got rebalanced to do less damage,
I mean,
it was
so I think B or C tier is about right. We'll compare it at the end to everything else in B tier. I'll throw it in B tier for now. Booster. Cool. Booster used to be pretty ridiculous, and it can be pretty powerful. I think B tier or A tier.
Saucer was always hilarious.
Right, but people really underestimated Booster Osprey. Booster Osprey
Neo,
was insane.
Booster Osprey, Booster Warthog with the air to ground when air to ground was super strong.
I think it's either A tier or B tier. People really undervalue the booster.
But now its fuel consumption's way too high, and it really doesn't seem to change your speed all that much.
Yeah, and so that
Booster Helix was super fun.
Yeah, I think A tier is about right.
If only for history, because I think if someone was putting on a booster now, it's kind of like, you sure about that? Because that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm sure it can have its uses. I just haven't really seen it. Striker plus Afterburner plus booster. That does sound pretty ridiculous.
That sounds like you run out of energy in about 4.5 seconds.
It does, but you know what? You can pair it with something in the same tier right now. Is an Energy Guardian, and it might even be ridiculous. I mean, in a 2v2,
booster, Energy Guardian, Striker, Afterburner. Sure, we'll do that.
In a 2v2, that could be insane. You don't know.
It could be funny. Okay, so you can go really fast. You're still not going to be able to kill anybody.
Let's move on to bombs.
Because you have boosters. All they're going to do is land and then start jumping.
For historical purposes, I don't think bombs can be ranked lower than B tier.
For history, bombs need to be an A.
How are bombs now? I don't even know. Anybody? Okay, Dead Scully is I'd
say bombs nowadays aren't great. The bombs unit isn't great. I mean, bomber bombs have gotten a little bit better, but I distinctly remember when you couldn't build units other than bombs.
So I think so. Some feedback from chat from Dead Scully is bombs are in B. I think that's probably about right for the current meta, but considering history, I would need to bump bombs up to A tier for history because
bombs were the dominating meta.
So okay, if you had to go back in time to when bombs were best, what tier would you put that in, Frisky?
Like when
bombs were best. When bombs were 100% Triple S, exactly. I would put it in Triple S. It was insanity. So I'm
especially with tech pods.
Yeah, there you go.
And especially in the arty meta, because then you were bombing the dingers, the dingers and jammers, and then your arties would shred. So bombs were required during the artillery meta. Bombs were required any day prior to that.
So and when you paired it with boosters, then you could just carry an insane number of bombs. And basically snipe
bombs did enough damage that it was cheaper to build bombs. It's cost effective to build bombs and kill units. So if I just pick up 4 bombs as an Osprey and drop them all on a Longhorn, I blow up the Longhorn immediately, and that only costs 4,000. The Longhorn costs 6.
Yeah.
So long as I just keep 4 bombs in my cargo and drop them on anything, I'm actually getting ahead. It was just absolutely ridiculous.
B tier shifted to A tier.
If we're weighting history in any non-zero number, I would be tempted to keep bombs in Triple S.
All right. So right now okay. This is the order on the screen. This is the order that I'm going to do the rest of them. I think we should put it in A. It might go up to S just due to history, but I think minimum A tier right now. Right now, it's probably in the current meta. It's probably bombs are probably B tier. You can probably bump it up 1 just depending on usage. But let's do some shuffling after. This is the next one is probably the trickiest one of all, considering we are talking about the historical usage as well as an emphasis on current meta. The turtle. The turtle is very useful right now. It's extremely useful. But do you remember the majority of its lifetime? Turtle was just
majority of its lifetime
unusable.
It was a joke.
Just unusable.
It was
literally, if you brought it,
mechanically unusable.
Yeah, basically. So I mean, right now everyone's saying it should go up to the top.
Issue commands, so you'd have to. They're super slow. You'd have to drop the turtle on a hold position somewhere.
So I think,
and then it would only crunch up if it got hit. Which at that point it's already lost half its hit points. Now it's going to increase its armor. Okay, what kind of bullshit programming went into that?
Yeah.
And then for a while it was really, really super good because we had all sorts of hidden buffs to its repair rate, so that repairs like 8 times faster than other units, even though no one knew it did. So like a single fixer gives it like 400 hit points a second.
It was an Osprey's dream for sure. My favorite thing to see before was when people would try to drop turtles as a defensive unit in the front line, and it would die even before it could start to turtle up. That was just...
Oh, yeah.
It was just the best. So everyone's saying it's literally top tier right now, like literally triple S.
I don't know if that's a meme or what.
Well, right now it is really good. Just that's apparent right now.
It is fairly cheap with really good armor and really good cost for what it is.
Okay.
So I can...
This is my logic for the initial placement. Right now, it should either be double S or triple S, currently. Before, it would either be in D tier or F tier. I mean, it was hot garbage. Just the worst possible thing you could... Like, it was a waste of a unit, loadout slot. So for that, considering we're the absolute average of that would be somewhere between A tier and B tier. But considering we're emphasizing current meta, I'm going to slot it in S tier. So right now it's going to sit in S tier, and we're going to think about how good it is now compared to how absolutely terrible it was before. And let's move on. Let's move on to Roller. Cool. Roller is weird.
Roller was especially good during the Heavy Mine meta. Because Roller was your go-to for clearing the mine path, because heavy mine arm time was like a second.
Yeah, and currently it's not like that at all. Like, so where would you put it at its peak? Double S? Something like that? I would probably say double S.
Yeah.
Roller at its peak was double S, right? But
Roller currently... It's required, but it's outstanding, especially because you just drop it, like for your artillery wars, Roller was the most cost-effective high armor HP pool that you could get. So you would just build rollers, drop them in front of your units on follow command, and it would just serve as the brick wall, because turtles were still a joke, and they're better than Longhorn and Busters. No one in their right mind would use Busters yet. So I think, Roller was really good for a long time, but now is completely outclassed by Grinder.
I would say
and the ability to clear mines is kind of negligible now for Roller.
I would say between then and now, the comparison is something like double S, and now it's something like B. So the in-between is A, because we're emphasizing current. So right now...
It still does beat heavy mines, though. And heavy mines are a very standard thing to take.
I'm not sure what... It doesn't auto-target invisible heavy mine? Are you serious?
So if you put a roller in in front of the big pile of tanks, and then you just put them on an attack command or a capture command, the roller, despite the fact that it can clear the mines, I don't think it's actually going to.
Unless its path.
I would have to test that.
Unless its physical path intersects the location
I think you have to drop it on a hold command near where the mines are.
No. Not necessarily. In theory, people put mines in a push path, correct? So if you put a roller on a capture command, for example, more than likely, if there is a heavy mine in the way, the path from the current location of the roller to the outpost will probably hit the heavy mine. Most likely. Not a guarantee, but it will. If it does hit it, it'll clear it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Grinder right now is really strong, and it's always been really strong. I don't think it can go any lower than S tier.
Double S.
Double S?
Grinder's good. Grinder's always been good.
I'm good with that. I'm not gonna argue that.
Especially if you got a high carry weight mech.
I don't think that's a complicated discussion. Let's move on. Now we are finally onto tanks. Everybody, this is the hot topic.
About damn time.
This is the main event of the evening. Gemini
Isn't it still morning for you?
It's 11:43 on the West Coast. Yes.
So yes.
Gemini has never been the best tank. Oh no, it was. It was. That's true.
It was a straight upgrade of Longhorn. It was literally just a Longhorn that shoots twice.
And then after that,
they're like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah. And then they downsized the guns to the current little ones. Oh, that's true. Correct. I forgot about that.
They didn't have this armor and piercing system once upon a time, and so the Gemini was just straight up an upgrade to Longhorn. It just does more damage, and that's that. Same hit point pool, same cost. It was an upgrade. Gemini was better than Longhorn for a very long period of time, but that was like literally 7 years ago. It was
so long ago. Not only was it such a long time ago, but it was for a kind of short, relative to the rest of its lifespan, a very short block of time. So
back before matchmaking existed. So yeah.
So I don't think we can put it any higher than B. I think B tier is perfect. Honestly, I think B tier is perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Devastator needs to go at S or higher, I think, because it's so useful as a damage soak. It's just super late game is the only thing.
That is its biggest limitation.
But
it is if you can just start building Devastators and start phasing them in, yeah, I mean they're pretty good, but such a long build time.
Let's talk about history. Let's talk about for the first couple months or even maybe a year of the Devastator's lifetime. The Devastator was just the worst possible thing you could make at that stage of the game. It was stupid crap, not as powerful as it was now, not as health dense, stupid slow to move. Like it was like an alternate universe sucky version of what it is now.
Yeah, because we did a fundamental rebalance of all tanks, and a big portion of that was range.
Yeah.
So like the Goliath, when we adjusted it to have shorter range than Longhorn, that was hugely controversial just because of when it happened. But I think that was one of the better balance changes for tanks in general.
I think if you're probably talking about the current relative strength of Devastator, it would probably be...
if you're going to compare Devastators to Goliaths to Longhorn to all that.
It would probably be in double S tier. But right now, we're doing history. I think we have to bump it down a tier to S tier. I think that's fair.
Single S. But, I mean, late game right now, you're going to start seeing Devastators.
Yeah, of course.
If it goes to late game, you're going to see Devastators. But I guess that's the whole thing. You got to get to late game. It's like, what, level 9 right now?
Yeah. Oh, no, I think, yeah, level 9, and then Silo is level 11 or something, or 12?
Level 9. And then the Silo is...
11 or 12.
Level 9. Both are level 9.
Oh, they're both level 9?
Should be level 9
God, that is wrong, man. That is such a stupid... Anyway. So I'm going to put Devastator at S right now because, again, this is an all-time tier list. So, Buster has never been bad. Is that accurate to say? Buster's never been bad.
Buster has never been terrible. I think it's had many portions of its life where Longhorn was just better, and that there's really no reason you shouldn't be building something else.
I think where I put it just now is fair.
The thing that made Buster really good is having ever so slightly higher range than Longhorn.
Well, and also it's just stronger in terms of damage. It
does more damage, but it's got a slower fire rate. The high frontal armor really doesn't make too much of a difference versus tank. So if you just have a straight-on fight, Buster versus Longhorn, they're both in range of each other. Buster's not all that amazing.
Double S tier.
But the leapfrog capability, yeah, I'd put him there. I think that's reasonable.
Dillo?
If you're playing a high tier 1v1 right now, I would expect that you have Busters in your loadout.
So I think the Armadillo needs to either go in the same tier or one below, factoring in history, because at a certain point in time, Armadillo was there was no point
standard.
No. I'm talking about even further back. When it was just Longhorn Gemini, Armadillo was a terrible choice.
Armadillo was just a ship tank. Yeah.
Yes. Dillo got buffed. It became the choice tank at that point. Then it got rebalanced, and then after that was the era of circling balance through all three tanks, and it was just insane. So I think
just make one tank better, then make the other tank better.
Yeah.
And there's just always a better tank. It's like Gemini or Longhorn or Armadillo. Well, one of those is always better than the others.
No one can really make a decision as to how they should be relative to each other and still work with other units. So right now,
you know you can balance everything with just cost and build time.
Don't say stop it. Dillo.
Sorry, I should never say that.
I would think Dillo right now probably sits at double S tier. Right now. But factoring history, again, same as the Devastator, I'm going to bump it down one tier. Now, the last two tanks are the easiest choices in the world. And they go all the way at the top. So now...
Longhorn Goliath easily triple S.
Huh?
Longhorn Goliath easily triple S.
Easily. These are these are the only two units that have had 100% longevity, have never fallen out of extreme mainstream usage of the high tier, mid tier, and low tier, and have had just insane effectiveness the entire lifespan of the game. Longhorn and Goliath are the definition of triple S, top of the food chain unit that will probably never get any lower than triple S tier. Now, our goal is to now compare which of these units sitting in S, double S tier, S tier, A tier, probably nothing lower than that. I don't think we can bring anything up higher. Which of these units are comparable to Longhorn and Goliath? I await your input, chat. I await your input.
And meanwhile, we're treating triple S as something that is basically required. If you don't have these in your loadout, then you're just a bad player.
Well, and here's the tricky part. Basically required, but it's a historical tier list. So these are the only two units that fit the description for the last 8 years. Some could argue that you could switch out Longhorn for a different tank at different points in time, but there was never, ever a time when Longhorn was a poor choice over another tank.
You remember when Tesla was released and it really sucked, and then I made a bunch of big suggestions for how they could change the balance, and they only took the ones that buffed it, and so then Tesla would insta-kill everything with branching into 3 or 4 arcs and kill those two with the same damage?
Yes. Why?
Tesla's always been good. There's no point where Tesla hasn't been good.
Okay.
I would almost be tempted to put Tesla up there, just because there's really never been a time where Tesla was a bad idea. Gaddy would be something that I'd rank high.
I am fine with that. Tesla is the one unit right now I'm bumping up to triple S. Generator and Whopper are probably the next contenders.
That is very
over
tempting.
Gaddy. I think Whopper as the upkeep unit is a no-brainer.
Yeah. given its current function, that yes. When it was leveler, though, no. But given its current function as the upkeep unit, I would say, that's something that you should just...
The current function as the upkeep unit and the previous upkeep unit. And generator can go back up there, too.
Because...
generator... Well, I don't know. Previously...
Generator now, I wouldn't put current generator there.
Everyone else in chat puts current generator there. My problem is not current generator. My problem is historical generator.
I think current generator on Triple S. Really?
Yes. Yeah. And I don't disagree with that.
I must have missed that part.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah. It's pretty bad. I might put Silo up here. In its lifespan, it's been just.
But it's so easy to hard counter,
just insane. It is, but is it still required? Yes. Yes, it is.
You can win without Missile Silo.
You can win without any of these things if you're good enough, and if your opponent's, makes mistakes.
Well, I guess
that's not the point.
If it comes into it, if it's a mid fight, you need Missile Silo. That would be good.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Are there any more units in the double S tier that we would consider?
Should we put Buster there?
Should we put Buster there? I don't think so. I personally wouldn't. If we're talking about the current meta tier list, then yes. But I think Buster was never required before the current recent iterations of the meta. Because you had your alternatives. You didn't have to use Buster. You could have just used artillery. You could bring out an Archie from level 1. You could bring out an Artie from level 1. At certain points in its OP run, you could have substituted in a Bucky as well.
And should we bump Gorgon up to double S?
Should we bump Gorgon up to double S? Why is there no one else participating in this chat, huh?
They don't care about you.
Because they don't care about me. Probably
feelings.
Not. But
I mean, we could always just jump into 2v2 matchmaking instead.
Oh, God, but I don't like playing this game anymore. It's disturbing. So, historically, for me, Gorgon should go higher. Just because it was basically required before. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because once you hit Gorgon level, you made nothing but Gorgons. Because mechs could not survive. Mechs just could not survive around them. Now, does Dillo go up there?
You couldn't even do a flyover. You would just instantly die.
Does Dillo go up there? I know I was
only
speaking...
because it's a tank. Dilla's
That's kind of what I'm getting at. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, when have tanks not been good?
Never. And once Dillo was a proper tank, it stayed in mainstream usage. I think it goes right below the tier Longhorn. Gemini is still sitting in B tier, and that's fair. That's fair to me. Heavy Mine. Heavy Mine would almost go into triple S tier. There was only a short... Okay. Way back in the day when it didn't have an arm time, it was triple S tier. Period. It had an arm time after that, and it lost. It fell out of the meta.
It's so easy to counter now, though. Well, I mean, it's so easy to counter.
It's not about
general.
countering. It's not about countering. It's a defensive tool.
If you're going to push, you start with a single zipper, and there are no heavy mines.
See, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with that anymore. It's always been
that simple.
But your zipper is so small. If you put your heavy mines in certain positions, your zipper will just zip right by. You'd need to send a group of zippers, like 3 or 4. Which, again, is not a huge investment. So it's not a huge investment.
With a 2-second build time, okay. I fail to see the issue here.
Well, okay. We're not shifting heavy mine up. Are you trying to argue to shift it down?
I'm arguing that heavy mines should not be shifted up just because it has always been so straightforward to counter. It is very good. It gets a lot of use. It can do hilarious amounts of damage. But if you play as if there's going to be a couple heavy mines there, they will do no damage.
Okay. I'm fine with keeping it where it is. So what I want to do right now is to look at each individual tier after triple S tier, because that one is kind of finalized, and decide whether or not any of these units don't really fit in the power level of the rest of the units next to it. And I'm going to admit that I'm going to bring Probe down from S tier to A tier. That's my bad, and I own it.
Thank you.
So let's look at S tier. Triple S tier, sorry.
So you're going to bring Fixer back up, right?
We're not at C tier yet, Frisky. Butcher, Gangster, Ratchet, Gaddy, Heavy Mine, Bertha, Blade Guardian, Generator, Grinder, Buster, Gorgon, Dillo. I think those all make sense to be in the same spot. I think that's great. I think that's a great representation of the, of all these units' relative strength throughout the past of AirMech and emphasizing the current. Moving on to S tier, level 4 creeps.
What about the ultimate probe?
No, we are not talking about ultimate. We're only talking about the units that you see on your friggin' screen, Overkill.
For the uninitiated, the ultimate probe, when you killed it, it would split into 3 probes. And I believe when you killed those, each of those would split into 3 probes as well.
2. I think it's 2.
2?
I thought it was 2. This is such irrelevant conversation. Level 4 creep. Brute. Does Brute need to go up to double S tier? I don't think so. I think it's about right in S tier.
No.
Sergeant.
No, I mean...
What?
Brute's just... No. I was just going to say stuff you don't care about.
So it's... Yeah. We're trying to wrap this mother effer up, Frisky. Level 4 creep. Brute. Sergeant. Bucky. Patcher. Archie. Radar Guardian. Seeker. Flacker. Aegis for some reason. Turtle. Devastator. Now I'm
Aegis for some reason.
Now I am sort of inclined to move Devastator up to double S tier.
Just because it's a tank?
Just because, well, not just because it's a tank, but god damn it, does it being a tank really help?
It does. Yeah. I would bump it up.
Yeah. Turtle, I know everyone is just saying how ridiculously OP it is right now, but you weren't there 6 years ago, so it's staying at S tier. Flacker, Seeker, I think that makes sense to just keep them on par, and AA is AA,
Sure.
Radar Guardian, I'm still a little bit confused about. I don't know why it's so damn high. I really personally want to move it down to A tier. I'm doing it.
Which one?
Radar.
You don't like Radar? But Radar's so good.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I'm just saying that it doesn't make sense to be as high as friggin' Seekers.
But in the class of unit that it is, building Radar Guardians is not going to keep you from building Seekers.
That's terrible logic. What does that have anything to do with how powerful a required the unit is?
It's the best Guardian.
It's the best Guardian. It's not. Okay. I personally never used it. You can only
have a couple of Guardians.
For when I... Okay. And, there you go. Overkill with the logic. Radar Guardian is map dependent. Maha. Whereas most of these other units above them are not map dependent. They're always good.
If you're playing on duel, Radar Guardian is not as useful as it might have been on Crater. That is true.
So... The only other one I'm a little bit inclined to move down is Bucky to A tier, potentially.
Bucky is better than artillery until there's Aegis.
Bucky is not. Okay, number 1, it depends on the patch. Number 2, equal number of Bucky will lose to equal number of artillery if not spread properly, because AoE on artillery will just annihilate Bucky.
Current patch, Bucky beats artillery until there's Aegis.
Current patch Bucky beats artillery only when properly spread on the maps that applies to.
So are you suggesting that you just kind of don't play like a good player?
I hate you. I hope you know that.
I know.
Bucky stays in S tier. Fine.
Thank you.
Level 3 creep. Sam, Rocketeer, Shooter, Necro, Probe, Jackal, Zipper, Tango. Wow, it's really sad that Jackal, Zipper, Tango, like those are the quick vehicles. Besides Gangster, the highest is an A tier. There's nothing in S tier, and honestly, that probably is correct. That's probably an accurate reflection of their power usage.
They can all be really good. They can also be really dead. You build one Gaddy. I don't give a shit how many zippers you build.
Honeypot, T-45, Bear Trap, Energy and Radar Guardian, Lunchbox, Booster Bomb, Roller. The only thing I'm inclined to want to move down is probably T-45.
I thought you were going to want to move bombs up.
I don't know how bombs are now, honestly. I don't think they're good.
They're not great.
They're not good.
They scatter a lot. They're very hard to aim.
And I'm pretty sure their damage just straight up is not as good anymore.
And to really use them effectively, you got to pick them up out of your outpost. It can be kind of hard if they auto deploy onto the ground, and it's like, why are my bombs sitting on the ground?
Yeah,
they're expensive. They don't do a whole lot of damage anymore. The bomber bombs kind of eclipsed the unit bombs.
I'm gonna say something that I have not thought until now. Maybe if you remember before, there were 3 bombs, then they reduced it down to 1 bomb. Maybe it would make sense to change it to 2 bombs.
There's a ton of mechanical changes that would make perfect sense, but they're not going to happen, so I don't really entertain that thought.
We're making a tier list of AirMech units history. Nothing.
Correct.
None of this stuff matters. Okay. I think A tier looks good. Does anyone have any objections from chat? And if you do, it probably won't come through until we move on. Moving on. B tier.
Chat's nothing but objections.
B tier. Level 2 creep, Boomer, Jumper, Soldier, Morty, Runner. I feel like Boomer should be higher. But anyway, Rebel.
Too easy to hard
Boxer. So what about the rest of the infantry? What about Sam's?
But Boomer will always be lower than unit bombs.
No, we're not doing this relation rule thing, because if we were saying that, we would need to move Bucky down below Aegis. It's all relative. It's all relative.
Meaning we should put Bucky in Triple S.
Morty, Runner, Rebel, Boxer, T-99 is somehow lower than T-45, but it kind of makes sense. Blaster Guardian, Hat, Bot Spawner, Moneymaker, Vulcan, Gemini. I like this. I like this B tier. I like it. Maybe Soldier and Runner need to be higher than... No, Morty and Jump, yeah. It's about right.
It's okay for you to like things.
Again, I would like to move Boomer up. Just because of history.
Put it with regular unit bombs?
Just because of history.
Because there was a long period of time where even if you killed them, they would still do the normal blast damage.
Well, yeah, and also it's not like you're going to bomb boomers that were just dropped on you. Obviously, that timing would randomly happen every once in a while, that you're right over your outpost, ready to grab bombs that you were going to ferry over, but someone just dropped boomers, so now you're just going to drop them on the boomers. Sure, that happens, sure. But that's not going to be a common occurrence, or it was not a common occurrence when boomers were so...
You're not building bombs against boomers. You're using either bombs or boomers against a pile of tanks.
So you're saying you're not claiming bombs are the counter. Well, okay.
I'm not saying bombs counter boomers. I'm saying that bombs are equivalent to boomers, but cannot be sniped before they go off.
At some points, boomers were way more heavily used than bombs for that purpose.
There was an interesting period of time where Aegis could snipe regular bombs.
Yeah, that's true. That was weird. I didn't really get that. But that Aegis was somehow a bomb counter, which apparently is why it's an S tier. I'm going to move Boomer up to A tier. I'm sorry, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Boomer's in A tier with bombs. The rest of it looks fine. Level 1 creep. Fixer. 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 Assassin. Joker.
Yeah, Fixer definitely doesn't belong here.
With Assassin. Okay, I will agree that it doesn't belong with Assassin, but the real question is, does Assassin even belong in C tier, or does it need to go down to D tier?
I wouldn't fault you for dropping Assassin.
And in that sense, I kind of want to drop FF2000 down to F tier, because the little period of him being stupid strong is just not even relevant. That was like
He's literally got FF in his name.
Does Gemini need to go higher than B tier? It's a tank. It's a tank, Frisky. It's a tank.
Fine.
I guess it goes into A tier. Just for history. Okay. Creep. Joker Ratters. I think Joker needs to go up 1. It needs to be equivalent with Rebel. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Ratter is probably lower. Hero, Jammer, Pepper, Light Mine, Lulz, Repair Guardian. Stinger probably needs to go up 1 tier. No, God, it's so bad.
Yes.
It's so bad, though.
Well, I mean, if it's on Socket, then it's just a continuous stream of Seeker missiles.
Ish.
But it's Socket dependent.
No, actually,
Stinger off Socket sucks.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Man, comparing it direct to the hat like that, I feel like maybe it should stay where it is and see.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
I'd just put Stinger back down.
Light Mine, Repair Guardian, Balloon, Sentry Turret. That feels fine. You might move Balloon up, because it did definitely have a period of time where it was stupid broken with Saucer Abduct. Were you there for that? That was a little while ago.
The balloons? No.
I'm moving it up to B tier.
I mean, I don't recall being able to abduct balloons.
I'm not putting Balloon on par with Light Mine. Is Light Mine even... Does it even make sense to put Light Mine here? I'm put Repair Guardian up with Blaster Guardian. Repair Guardian and Blaster Guardian make sense to be in the same spot because of their past synergies with mechs and less effectiveness now.
Okay.
Assassin Flamer, Sonya, Artie, Vault Box, Sky Eye. God, that was killing me. The only thing that I might have
equivalently useless.
The only thing I might have a problem with is Artie, but Artie will almost never has pretty much never been a choice over Archie. So if
the range is too short. If you take present state, does it even outrange tanks?
Yeah, it does. But
if it does, it's by like 1.
Yeah, it's very...
And it's at max range, so it's going to be horribly inaccurate.
Yeah. So I think it's fine in D tier, simply because there has always been terrible. A direct upgrade unit that has no other down... Like, it's not like it's level locked. It's not like it might be more expensive, but a negligible amount at times. So I think it belongs here with with Vault Box.
Yeah, it's bad.
Do we move Sky up to C tier? Probably not.
No.
And F tier is quite self-evident. Who's ever used stasis mines competitively besides tangibility? I don't think anyone.
There was a short period of time where they were really good because the stasis effect cuts the damage in half, and it was very difficult to get rid of them. Like, you can't remove stasis mines once they're on the map. So if you were, say, playing Thar, you'd put a couple stasis mines on the bridge, and now mid is completely unpushable even with light units because it cuts the incoming damage in half and it slows anything down.
But I don't think that was due to a balance factor. I think that was kind of it was sort of like a trend. People just started using stasis mines just because they realized they could kind of create a wall
And they're very difficult to deal with. If you put stasis mines into choke point, they are very good. And they're very hard to get rid of.
But not anymore. Not for a long time. F tier. Final list. This is it. I'm going to hit save. Kablamo. Title of tier list. Oh, well, you can't see that, but... historical tier list. Add a description. Emphasis on recent metas. And that's about it. I'm gonna hit save. Ba-ba-boom! There is your final tier list.
I guess you can go have lunch now.
I probably could, yes, because it is noon here. It's 12:13. Well, I appreciate everyone giving their input. All 11 of you that are left, because apparently all the high-tier players got bored and left to play, which I'm completely fine with, because that's the whole point of talking about any of this, I think, for the most part. Thanks for the assistance, Frisky. Your fixer is in B tier. Rejoice.
Yay! Without me, it would be F.
Without you, it would be F. All right, everybody. I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate your input. And if you are an active player, join the power ranking. Talk to me. Talk to other active players. And moo.
Until next time.
Moo.